All right, here we are, Thursday, 7 o'clock, Zooming with Dan. Certainly been a big week in the M&D calendar with Global M&D Awareness Day on Sunday just gone, a day that all M&D associations from all over the world come together to recognise the disease that is MND/ALS. Also in the M&D Victoria, M&D Australia calendar, we finished up our Australia Moves for M&D campaign, which has been a major part of what we've been doing since M&D Week in May. The amazing news is that we managed to crack the $200,000 mark, sitting at about $205,000 today, raised by an incredible amount of people all over Australia, and supported by many generous donors. To reach a milestone like that is an absolute credit to so many people within the M&D community, and we're overwhelmed that it was the first time that all state associations came together to put on a national virtual event. And I guess it just, through these difficult times, it shows that the generosity of the public is well and truly there. And we've also seen that in this year's M&D Victoria tax appeal that is currently live. And today we've managed to hit an all-time record of funds raised, and that's just a credit to all the great supporters out there, and we're incredibly thankful for that. Tonight, delighted to have Michelle and John with me. Michelle and John are two people I've come to know very well over the last couple of years, with a relationship I have with them both and their son Paul, and also son Robbie, who has been a bit of a hit, I think, through our social media and website and many other avenues. But a lot of people watching will probably recognise Robbie and probably Michelle and John. They're a big part of what we do. And unfortunately, Robbie did pass away from M&D last year. But I will let Michelle and John talk through that story in a lot more detail, and I won't talk for too long now because Michelle has a little reputation for talking for a very long time.
Really?
So on that note, look, I'm absolutely honoured to know the whole family and know them quite well, but I'll hand over to Michelle and John now to talk a little bit about themselves and Robbie and Robbie's M&D journey. So Michelle and John, hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much. And
we'll let Michelle go. She's she runs the household.
We'll be here for hours.
True. Look, we're Robbie's mum and dad.
Yeah.
That's us in a nutshell. Just a couple that got married and wanted children, and we were blessed with two beautiful boys, Robbie and Paul, and they're lot of our lives. But John and I have been married nearly 40 years. Yeah, 40 years, less for murder. No. Couldn't ask for a better man in my life.
Yeah, she's
very
right.
blessed. Very blessed.
But it took for you two to sit next to each other tonight, though. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no.
We are tied up.
we are. Where one is, the other is.
Yeah.
But
look, we have the two children, the light of our lives. We holiday together every year. Every year was June, July on the Gold Coast. We do things. We go to the football together. Most of us are Saint supporters, except Paul, who saw the light and follows Geelong. So lucky him. But everything's done together. I mean, we call ourselves the Caliste bubble because that's what it was. This bubble that had us all together. And everything we did was done. With the approval of the family. It was always discussed and all that. Sometimes we may not agree with some of the choices that's from the youngins or the old ones, but we always saw each other's point of view. So so when Robert was diagnosed, it certainly hit us very hard, as it would every other family. But a younger person getting that sort of diagnosis that did shake us up. But as a sort of family that we are, we said, all right, well, let's talk about it and let's attack. So, which we did for 2.5 years. We, and I say we because it wasn't just Robert fighting the good fight. It was all of us, myself, Michelle, and his brother Paul. We all took turns for him, and And we do believe that even when he went at the end, we were there for him, and that's all he can ask. We were a family to the end.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the time around Robbie's diagnosis and I guess, how old he was, because this is, it's a really hard thing, I know, for you guys to talk about.
No, that's right. It's all good. Look, he was 34 and a half and all that. And look, basically that probably happened with most people that eventually got diagnosed. He was having a few issues with losing strength in the hands. I mean, him and his brother, they were big on on FIFA, the old those games the kids play on the computer, which is way above my head. But that was a big thing. And he kept mentioning to his brother, "Gee, I'm having trouble with my left hand just to do the controls, So put it down to a few things, maybe a bit of arthritis or whatever. But we didn't pay much attention. But eventually he had a major fall one day and smashed his head and split it. Yeah, the Thursday before Good Friday, which we ended up finishing in emergency and all, and at the Sunshine Hospital. And but even then we weren't. Motor neuron disease was not even talked about. I knew about the disease myself, but Michelle never heard of it. But anyway, he went through there, had stitches, whatever, got him home, and he was advised to see a neurologist, and which we did. I took him to his appointment, and the neurologist did a few tests on him. And I must admit, at the time, Robert opened up about a few things that was happening in his life, and I was thinking, oh, that's not very good. But again, we thought, oh well, let's see what happens. So he was booked for an MRI, probably about 7 days after he had his fall. But the neurologist had maybe had twigged that something wasn't quite reaching the edge. So he said, look, if you have another fall, get yourself to emergency and let's try if we can speed up some of the tests, which essentially it's what happened. Robbie was all right for about a week, and we worked together. We used to work together for the Department of Defence, and I usually got to work before him. He rang because Robbie was asleep.
Always late. Robert was always late.
And he rang me and said, "Dad, I'm on my way. I'll see you soon." And I said, "That's great." And the next phone call I got from him is, I had another fall.
In front of a tram.
Yeah, a lucky fall, in St Kilda Road in front of a tram. So then the alarm bell started really ringing, so straight to emergency at Sunshine, rang his mum and his brother. And we went there. They did a myriad amount of tests right through. And yeah, they looked at all possibilities, MS, brain tumor, anything, And then eventually, about the 5th day, Robbie was at the hospital. He said to me, look, I've had this doctor come in, specialist, that mentioned that they're checking my motor neuron. And because I knew a bit about the disease, probably not as much as what I know now, and my alarm bell started ringing. So for me, my my whole world just stopped. But I couldn't say anything to Michelle because I didn't want to alarm her. And I'm thinking, oh, well, do the test. It's all clear, happy days. But no, look, probably he was diagnosed on a Friday. The Thursday, me and Michelle, we visited him every day, but the Thursday, me and Michelle went to the hospital, went to have a coffee with him and have a chat. And Michelle Googled up motor neuron disease, and she saw, well, probably among all the other things she just saw the prognosis 2 to 5 life expectancy. And she looked at me and said, "Did you know about this?" I said, "Well, yeah." And well, so for the next 24 hours, with the three of us, with his brother as well, our world just stopped, and we waited to see if they could give him a final diagnosis. And we did say to him, "Rob, wait for us to come with you. So if it's not good, we can all be together, But we were at work, and the team that was attending to him came in Friday morning around 10 o'clock, and he couldn't wait. I mean, look, I don't blame him. I mean, this is pretty well life and death, if you'll forgive the expression. And anyway, he got the news and
Rang me.
Rang, well, after probably a few minutes of processing and probably crying and whatever else, despair, which I can't even think about, and rang his mum, and and she got the news. Then she had to pick herself off the floor to try and ring me as well, which hit me very hard, like all of us. Then I had to ring his brother, and I'd hit him as well, and the journey began. Anyway, I'll let Michelle say a few words. I've probably spoken too much.
No, you're fine. You're fine, love.
Nice to hear your voice, John.
Yeah, I remember us arriving at the hospital, and it was just that the three of us seemed to all arrived at the same time. And I can remember saying to John, "Can't they take my blood and give it to him, and they give me his? That I can take it away from him. Mums are meant to fix things, and I couldn't fix this for him." We went in, and the doctors basically told us what we'd already read on the internet. So obviously that's where they got their information from. So there wasn't much they could tell us. He wanted to come home. He didn't want to stay. He said, he came back here. And then, we just took it all in. And you don't have a choice.
That's right.
You don't. The only thing for me was it didn't eventuate, but at the same time Robert got diagnosed, a lady at work, her husband was originally told he had MND. And I'm thinking, how ironic to work in a place and two people can get the same diagnosis. And she was the one that told me about MND Victoria, which John had already knew about. I think it's because you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next, But all I wanted to do was hug him. I just wanted to hug him and hold him and wrap him in cotton wool, and it would just right. And tell him it'd be okay, and that we were going to fix this, and he would be fine.
Yeah. But coming back to that, well, once that happened, so we had the weekend. We actually went to the football in St Kilda. Funny enough, had a win for a change, so that this made him feel a bit happier. But the Monday, I thought I'll start doing some phone call. I had a friend whose mother had passed away probably about 18 months, and they'd mentioned MND Victoria. And I thought, look, I'll give them a ring and see what happens. And this is where just open up my eyes to what MND Victoria is all about, the care and the compassion and how they treat people, and just the receptionist from the start was already. And wouldn't let me go. Just stay here. We'll get someone to talk to you. And I don't think it was yourself. Might have been someone called David or whoever it was. But they were just fantastic. Just the knowledge, the compassion, everything. And then eventually arranged for us to come in at one of your information night, and then it was all explained to us even more. Which was really, really eye-opening.
And that information session that you did attend, that was the first information session I actually attended through work, and that's where I met you all. And I'll never forget the first. Obviously, you're coming there at such a horrific time of your lives, but the first thing you wanted to do, Michelle, was buy some merchandise to sell at your work.
It was true.
I'll certainly never forget that.
Absolutely. Look, that night was very surreal, because we also walked in, and everybody that was sitting there obviously were a lot older than Robert.
Yeah.
So, so it was very hard to relate to a lot of the information we were getting. And I think I mentioned that to you, that was one of the things I found myself hard to deal with, was that they put on this screen that a person that gets diagnosed with MND is usually in their 50s and onwards. Our son was 34. And that was, I actually remember at the half-time, talking football here, I can remember going outside and having a big cry, because I couldn't get my head around to think, but Robert's 34, he shouldn't have this.
We shouldn't be here.
We shouldn't be here. But
it doesn't discriminate.
No, it doesn't discriminate. But we met you. We also met Lauren. I remember meeting Lauren on that night, who turned out to be our advisor. And I wanted to sell merchandise. I just wanted to get maybe the word out there.
I think you're right behind you. You've got the MND motto, until there's cure, there's care. And that's basically it in a nutshell. I mean, the amount of care we got, be it equipment. We'd only had to ask for it. It was here within 24 hours. And, someone to talk to or whatever, there was always someone available. So basically you weren't fighting a lone battle. I mean, this was the unknown for us, probably for a lot of people, and MND Victoria, I cannot speak highly enough. I mean, I still support, with whatever amount of money I can give, or a bit of time later on, anything, I mean, just to show that, this is a very worthwhile organisation, and it does so much good,
Look, I thought I might, touch on my relationship, and I feel I'm in a very privileged position to meet so many amazing people and inspirational, whether they have MND or the family members like yourself. The MND community is full of incredible people, and they're all brought together for unfortunately the same horrible reason, really. But I think I've spent many quality hours with your whole family, including Robbie, and those hours at your home, and with Robbie in his bedroom, I'll never really forget the shrine he has there of all his sports memorabilia and his beloved Saints and Melbourne Victory memorabilia, as I just said. And I think Robbie, even though he was so young, he kept that positive attitude, and you could always have a laugh with him. He was always jovial, and he gets stuck into me for something, whether it was, I don't know, he loved keeping that sense of humor. And I think you've all been so generous with your time and helping us at MND Victoria, do what we do and tell our story. And you were part of a big appeal last year, and we certainly use your brilliant family photos in many different streams in what we do. So I'm very thankful that you're so open in highlighting your story, and I know you're big fans of what we do, and that's so nice to hear that. But I think it's a connection that I will have with you two and Paul for probably the rest of my life, and we'll never forget
Absolutely.
Robbie. We've certainly had some other special occasions together, which we might talk about a little bit about later. But I thought we might move to you, John, here, and have a bit of a chat about the role of a carer. You've all done it. You touched on it earlier that you did rotate through the care you provided, Robbie. But how about you delve a little deeper into what the role of a carer looks like?
Look, the role of the carer was at the start was quite easy, because Robert was fiercely independent, and he actually wasn't living with us when he first got diagnosed. So he wanted to keep his life as normal as possible. And but after about 12 months, we did say to him, Rob, when it's time, we're not going to push you, but when it's time, you'll know. And he came to us and said, look, I'm ready to come home, and that's when life did change a bit, but it wasn't really a big change. I mean, look, some people probably say we spoil our kids, Robert and Paul, we do everything for them. I mean, mum's a cleaner, I'm the cook, chef, I love cooking, so everything the kids wanted, so that was already taken care of. I mean, and again, Robbie was still reasonable. I mean, he still had function. He could get around, with the aid of some equipment. He was still driving, going out and all that. And so it wasn't all that hard, but probably in the last 8 to 10 months, then you saw the decline. He started losing the use of his left hand. He had a lot of cramps, and walking was starting to become a real chore. He had another major fall at the front of our house and hit his head on the ground. Thank God he wasn't, well, in the scheme of things, not as bad. But so we had to be more aware then. So, if we walked around together, we'll walk with him. Then got his wheelchair, which we push around and all that. And so we had him at home. But your basic daily things like having a shower, even, which things that really got him mentally was losing all that independence. I mean, if he went to the toilet, well, without being crude, we had to wipe him, things like that. And mentally that took a toll on him, probably more than physical, would you believe? Because he's a young person. He should be able to do all that as far as he was concerned, but mum and dad were not supposed to be doing that. In the real world, he should be doing it for us, but life doesn't work like that. So so everything, I fed him because he couldn't, in the end, he used to try and feed himself, but he went everywhere, so and Robert, I will say one thing about Rob. He might sort of, think about things a little while, and he works it out. The easy way is just get dad to do it. So that was my job, and I loved it, because what that did for me when I was feeding him and all that, it gave me time with him, quality time. He had different time with his brother, different time with his mum, but that time I really look forward to it. Was be it breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever he could eat, and at the same time we'd have, because I'm trying to keep his spirits up as well, we'll have all these old-fashioned comedies on the TV, like very un-PC, like the Benny Hill Show and all this sort of thing. And he'd be laughing. We would have a great laugh, we'd repeat all the old lines, but that was done like that. But it was very hard because his sleep pattern was very disrupted. I mean, he wouldn't go to sleep till 3 a.m, so we try and get a few hours. We actually put a baby monitor in his room so that if he needed us, all he had to do was call. So, but of course, sometimes he'd fall asleep, or you'd hear him in his sleep. Sometimes the way of the disease, he can almost choke. So if he coughed too much, so he literally slept with one eye open. But yeah, we just did all that, and like I said, any part of his need, if he had an itch, he'd call you because he couldn't scratch himself, so you had to do it. Everything, and
his glasses.
But it was a three-way thing. Like I said, if I couldn't, Michelle would take over, and Paul as well, and so yeah. But it wasn't it wasn't a problem. It wasn't an issue, And I actually retired from my job. My job were good enough to ask me if I wanted to take a look after me financially, with a redundancy. Then I thought at the time, well, look, it's time. Robert needs 24/7, so I was happy to do that. I'm a retired public servant. Some people probably say public servants don't really work, but hey. But yeah, but we, it was, and it actually gave us even more time with him. The quality time, and just it's moments you do cherish. You never looked at it as a duty. It was just something you did with love.
Yeah. And we talk about it a lot, and those that have been affected by MND certainly know this, that it's so horrible for the person that has the disease, but you two have put your life on hold, and you do it with absolute love. But as you just said there, John, that you do have to leave your job and to provide that 24/7 care. So it's just as hard on the whole family as we all know.
Yeah.
You've touched a lot on MND Victoria and the support you have received, but I know you have a really special connection to Lauren, your MND advisor. Talk me through a little bit about the role she played in the whole journey. And I always remember coming to the house, and you always had rooms full of equipment, and Robbie loved getting around in his electric wheelchair and doing burnouts in the hallway.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk me through a little bit about Lauren, the support she provided, and some of the equipment, and what it enabled Robbie to do.
Well, Lauren to me became like a really good friend. I could ring Lauren at any time, and so Lauren basically helped us with getting us an OT lady who would come to the house for Rob. Her name was actually Lauren as well. Anything we needed, anything. I remember Robert got told that he should use a walking frame. And I can remember it arriving, and he's going, there is no way I'm using a walking frame. Send it back. I don't want it. I kept saying, Rob, if we send it back, you're not going to get another one. I don't care. I don't want one. It was one of his main things he used to use at the end, a walking frame. So you can imagine trying to get one again. But you guys didn't worry. It was there. I told Lauren what was going on. She said, don't worry. It will be there. Like I said, I could ring Lauren anytime. She used to often say to me, she'd come in, she always felt like she was at home. John and I, that's one thing is people come into our home, we make them feel like they're part of the family. So she always knew if she came here, it was always she needed to add a little bit of extra time on her journey. And she'd go and sit with Rob, and but I could talk to her. I could tell her how I felt. Even though she got organised equipment for us, and she organised OT people and organised palliative care at the time, I could still talk to Lauren. She became that person. I could tell her how I was feeling, because you've got to understand there's 3 of us that are living with Rob, and we tend to keep it to ourselves because we didn't want to upset the other person. So you didn't let on. I wouldn't let on to John, oh, look, that was really hard for me today, and vice versa, So, yeah, she was an advisor, but she was an advisor for us as well. So she helped us in ways that I could never thank her enough for what she did. And actually, there was a little bit of history, because Lauren originally was from Stawell, where my father was in the Stawell nursing home with dementia, and she actually looked after my dad. So I think it was just meant to be. So, but she's an amazing lady, and whoever has her now, they've got an angel.
Lovely words. Let's move on to something a little bit more a bit lighthearted and happy. And as I said earlier, and you've said too, that Robbie had so many great passions, especially in the sporting world.
Yeah.
He's had some great experiences throughout the M&D journey, and so many people have looked after him. Now, personally, I was honoured to be able to attend a Melbourne Victory soccer game with you all and Kate, our CEO. And I'm not the biggest soccer fan, and I don't think Kate is either. In fact, I know Kate's not the biggest soccer fan, but we had an absolute ball just being there with the family and some friends, and just seeing Robbie in his element there, watching a sport that he loved and the team that he loved, and
absolutely
talk me through that and some of the other special.
Okay, yeah, sure. Me? Yeah. Okay, so Robert wrote a bucket list. Like, we kept saying to him, you need a bucket list, mate. And he's saying to me, yeah, but there's so many things I want to do, Mum, and I don't know if I'm going to do it. So for me, I had a gentleman offer to do him a fundraiser, an Elvis person, Damien Mullen, and I can remember him offering, and I went, okay, we'll do it. And he said, you need to get raffles, and I can remember his words were, I said to him, how am I going to get raffle stuff? He said, you ask. What's the worst people are going to say to you is no. So when Robert made this bucket list, I went, what's the worst people are going to say to me is no, we can't do it for him. So there was a beautiful lady involved with the St Kilda Football Club, Wendy, and she read Robert's bucket list. Next thing, she's on the phone to me. She said, Michelle, I can help Robert meet the St Kilda football players. So we're not talking about just going into the rooms. We're not talking about meeting one or two coming and sitting beside him. We went to what they call a pizza night, where the players all make pizzas with it's a special group of people that pay a lot more money, obviously, for their memberships. So Robert and I were invited, and the first person we actually met was Nick Rewald, who sat there for about 20 minutes and just talked with Rob. You could see it in his face. He couldn't believe that he was there, He got to meet all the players, and the highlight the night for him was that Nathan Brown actually said to him, where do you sit at the football? And Robert said, I sit on level 2. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. You guys always forget that we're up there on level 2. You just don't acknowledge us. And he said, no, I will, Rob. I'm gonna wave to you. So we went to the next game and we won. But Robert wanted to leave. And I said, no, let's just wait, Rob. You never, just wait. So with that, Nathan Brown had the ball. And like I said, we were on level 2. And and with that, he yelled out on the top of his lungs, Robbie, and he threw that ball and Paul caught it. And it was signed, and it was just an amazing to think that was a few weeks earlier that Robbie had seen him, but he hadn't forgot Robbie. We also have the privilege, and I call it this because we sit very close to Eric Banner at the football, and anyone that knows Eric Banner is a very passionate St Kilda player. And Robert said to me, I'd love to meet him. And I went, okay. Mum went up to him, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to ask him. And I went up to him and I told him our story, and he said, I would love to meet Robbie. But it didn't end on that night. So every time we'd go to the football, he would go out of his way and come and say hello to Rob. I mean, how many people do that? I mean, you're talking of somebody that just wants to go to the football, not be recognised, and enjoy a game. But he would do that. He also got to meet Nicky Winmar, which is his absolute idol. And again, Wendy helped organise that. So we went to the game. He didn't even know he was going to meet him.
What a gentleman.
Absolute.
It was so taken in with Rob, he had his photo there and even signed a jumper, to my brother Rob, which
mates
was
forever.
Really mates forever, which is amazing,
Yeah.
But you do meet a lot, another player, Maverick Weller on the Gold Coast, which we usually go to see St Kilda play. He actually organised for Michelle and Rob to go in the rooms as well, which that's a privilege. It doesn't happen to everyone.
No.
It's great. As you that touch on Melbourne Victory.
Wow.
Well, that night was actually organised by the Victory in their special corporate room where, as you remember, dinner and everything else was put on, and it was just, I think that's been the best part about this this journey, we call it. You meet so many nice people, probably people you see from afar and you think, oh, look, maybe they're a little bit distant or a bit above us, but they are just genuine human beings, and I always touch that word, compassion. And yeah, you know, but yeah, the victory at John.
Yeah.
What's Johnson?
Doveston.
Yeah. He's the CEO there, or whatever it is. But he just
he's on the board. But that was through Emma at
Calvary. Yeah, that's a brother-in-law.
Yeah. So Robert went there and he had the jumper on, and she said, "I didn't know you followed Victory," and she said, "I'll organise and get you a signed jumper." But no, John. She rang John, who is her brother-in-law. He rang me. So he actually went to a game. The four of us, and then they took us down to the rooms after the game, and we met all the players. And Lee
Broxham, the captain,
actually came to the house and had lunch with us with Rob, and that was only a couple of weeks before we lost Rob. So you know.
And he had a lot of the passion. Robert was a very good poker player. He loved poker.
Oh yes.
You know, the old what do you Texas Hold'em, you know, and he actually won a few awards, and you know, and that was another one of his. Unfortunately, was something that actually broke his heart, that he couldn't play anymore, couldn't hold the cards, couldn't shuffle. That was hard. You know, there's certain things that he, you know, that like I say, his true passion. You know, but look, can't complain. Like I said, his two loves were St Kilda and the Victory, and they went above and beyond just to make his life a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, and nothing really good comes out of M&D, but you know, Robbie got to do some really special things in the final couple of years, and I know you two and Paul now have memories that you'll cherish forever. And as you said, you do meet, unfortunately, so many great people through the M&D journey. It's nearly or about 8 months now since Robbie did pass. How's life been since then? I know, obviously, it's a given that it is still incredibly raw and tough. But how about you talk through, you know, Robbie's final moments and how you're both doing today?
Look, it's hard. I mean, look, you lost part of your heart. You know, it's irreplaceable. You know, just we do focus on the good times we had. Look, and if nothing else, with this horrible disease, if nothing else, it did give us time, quality time, where you could actually say you love each other. I mean, men sometimes tend not to do that, but there was no holds barred, you know, so they gave us plenty of time and all that. But look, it's hard, you know. I mean, there's milestones, you know, birthdays, could be the first game of the football, or even like last week, as an example, St Kilda was getting done like a dinner by Collingwood. Normally I'd be running to Robert, we'd be, you know, absolutely abusing everyone, each other. We'd probably fight each other. We always argue at the football. And my first instinct was to tell Rob, but it didn't happen, you know. And they're the things, you know. It's there, you know. You could go on Facebook. Normally this time of the year we're on the Gold Coast. There's memories, you know, and it's a lot of time literally be just me, his brother Paul, and he would go. We'd go and have a meal in the city before we'd go to the footy. You know, all these little things have been, well, I guess stolen. I guess, you know, it's not easy, you know, and also. Even when Robert did finally pass, if I can mention it, that he actually did ask to access voluntary assisted dying, and we knew the law was coming. Robert's always been a deep thinker, reads a lot, so he knew in overseas that legislation had passed, and Daniel Andrews had been talking about bringing it here, and it did pass in June. And so when things got too hard for him, and he wanted to keep his dignity, we actually called us in and had that very emotional talk with myself, his mum, and his brother, and said, "Look, I would like you to support me, but this is my decision." So we had to go through that process, which wasn't easy, seeing it was very, very early in the piece. But after a few false starts and a few roadblocks, Robert was actually given a permit to take that medication. So as you can imagine, that's a roller coaster trip. Yeah. So, you know, some days you forget about it, some days you relive it, you know, and we know he went with dignity, and we know he was no longer in pain and he was at peace, but it's a major step, and it never leaves you, you know.
Can I just add to it that when Robert made that decision, for me, it gave us a chance to say everything to each other that we wanted to say, because a lot of people don't get that chance. You don't get that chance to really tell somebody how much you love them or what their wishes are. Robert was able to tell us everything. So we knew Robert planned his funeral. Robert planned everything that was going to happen. He also made voice recordings and left us all a message. You know, so the three of us have a special message from Robert, and none of us know what he said to each other. We've just kept it to ourselves. Robert had the final word at his funeral, where he actually spoke to the celebrant. He got to meet her and actually told her what he wanted said. But Rob's actual last words were, "Mum, scratch my nose." And I hang on to that because he said, "Mum." You know, and it's hard to lose a child, and it doesn't matter how old they are. But I'm grateful that he went out his way, and that MND didn't completely rob him of his life, and that he could and he could still talk to us. And you hear so many people that have MND that they can't talk anymore, and they can't tell people how much they love them. He could have died that day. He fell in front of the tram. I mean, we'll never know.
We got 2 years.
We got 2 years, and we have so many wonderful memories, and there's so many wonderful people out there that have helped us. Robert's friends, you know, there's so many names I can use. He had 2 wonderful best friends, 2 Sams. Wendy, as I mentioned, I've got some wonderful friends, Sharon and John, that came here quite a lot and just sat with us.
Family as well.
Family that popped in.
Uncles, cousins, everyone.
So, you know, we were lucky. I think that, you know, that we got that opportunity, because a lot of people don't. So, yeah.
But you never forget. You know, it's whether it's, you know, 6 months, 6 years, 30 years, you know, people tell you that I've lost, you know, a son, a sibling, whatever, you know, even a parent, you know, which sometimes people think it's natural, but
dogs.
that's right. They never leave you, you know.
Yeah.
The memories are there.
Look, I think it's a good place to leave tonight. I think you two deserve a good cup of tea.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being so raw and honest and sharing this story tonight. You're all, the whole family, including Robbie, you're all very inspirational, and all of us at M&D Victoria, you know, we're so glad we've got to know you all.
Yeah.
So
no, we're glad too.
And again, thank you to M&D Victoria. Without that care and that support, life would have been a lot tougher.
Absolutely.
So you do fantastic work, and we will always support, and we encourage people to do the walks, do the donation, anything you can.
Yeah.
Even a legacy when you're gone, please help out M&D, because the work is just unbelievable, priceless.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated, and we'll catch up soon, and hopefully we can, as we've said for a long time, we'll go to the footy together and we can watch my Bombers. That'll be a delight. So, good night.
Go Saints. Go Saints.
Thank you.
See you, mate. Bye.